Start.
Balramji, the next topic would be the food section. We have got several do's and don'ts about our food. What constitutes the Satvika Ahara, Rajasika Ahara, Tamasika Ahara. It's an age-old stipulation that whatever you eat, that transforms as your energy, and as well as it will influence your mind and it transform your mind. And fasting is also part of our ancient prescriptive list. And there are fixed times where you are, even if you are a child, unless you are terminally ill and infant, this Upavasa Niyama is always there. So, what are the benefits of it and how do we analyze these?
It's very interesting, and in the Western science or modern science, we have what we consider as nutritional requirement of body, which is based on the body composition that we have. For example, certain types of amino acids, certain amount of vitamins or lipids or carbohydrates intake is pretty much recommended, because that whatever is recommended is what is kind of generally your composition, so that it meets the basic requirement.
Balanced food.
Balanced food basically means what is balanced in your body is what you should be taking, so that it will be maintaining. Now, I don't think that in evolution this was the case, because in evolution people did not know what to eat and this will make my balance. So there has to be more adaptation. So in general, I believe in coming from India and knowing from family members to community members who has so many different food habits, number one. Number two, when I say food habit, it's not just eating meat or vegetarian, non-vegetarian, but certain types of food, certain time they will eat. Some people only eat with fruits and vegetables, and some people will eat grains, different types of grains. So body, I think, in general I would assume that during the evolution, the food was not available in balanced diet. So people have adaptation. So our body has to have the adaptation. Now the question is, why do we want to torture our body to do that? Now it's just like, why do we want to do the drill in the military? Or why do you want to do everyday exercise so that you are healthy? Because you're healthy, just sit there and not do anything. But the point is that if your body is in such a situation where it can adapt to all sorts of foods, endure stress, and unless you give the stress, it will not endure the stress. So it may be doing what I think in modern biochemistry may not be known even, because there are certain things people have found. An example normally given, when mothers during the labor, they secrete certain types of painkillers, which is similar to morphine. But that would not be secreted any other time. It is only under very stressful situation. Same way, if you eat only fruits and vegetable, I personally did it. I tried to do this. I took a vow to not eat grain even, and only eat fruits and vegetables for about a year. Actually started on Makar Sankranti and ended on Diwali. So just to see whether really, how does it feel. I did not do a chemical test of mine, but I just wanted to feel. And you do feel a little bit because you're not eating certain types of food, but I think in terms of health, I think I was as healthy now, if not better. So if I can live myself like that, that means there is some other biochemistry that is different than what we understand is the biochemistry, because my body is able to take the fruits and vegetables and make everything else that is needed to be made. That means there are certain biological processes that go on that when people do either upavas, fasting, or they eat only certain types of foods. Now the types of foods in upavas, what happens, because people still take something sometimes, some people don't even take water, and it is the endurance.
Nirjala upavasa.
Yeah, it is the endurance, and it will be fantastic to do research on this, to find out when people do upavasa with nirjala or with no.
So it takes some healthy volunteers who are willing to be part of the
exactly. And I think this would be I'm of view since I think it was maybe 10 years ago. I did this myself, because I'm such a person. If I want to test something, I want to do it myself to see what happens.
See, actually, this is the Upanishadic inspiration. The conversation between Shvetakaito and Aruni, it was that he says that okay, from this day onwards, you stop eating any of the fats, and you see how your speech, how exactly is it manifesting, and see the age-old adage is Ghritana Vardhate Buddhi. So if you want to be more this thing, the Ghrita, the Go Ghrita especially, that's very much useful to improve your intellect.
Yeah.
And you stop having all the fats and test how it is.
Yeah.
And he reported, the Upanishad sentence says that he reported that he has lesser propensity to think new ideas.
Yeah. So
Then the father gradually asks him to increase his intake.
So it is experimental.
Yes.
I mean, what you are saying is
He
experimental.
experimented on himself.
Yeah, yeah, and I
When
believe
he
that.
said that you do it on yourself,
I
that's
did.
what he did.
I did not only I did, and I mean, just while I'm on the topic of what I did, I also made my own food. So because in our area when I was growing up, I had a teacher who made my life what I am today. He was in 7th grade, but he was a Brahmin by caste. So he would not eat in my house. He will come visit, it's only a mile away. So sometimes he will come to my house, maybe once in a month or something, just spend the overnight. But he will just drink milk. Or I cook, then he will eat. So it wasn't related to caste. It was just related to the food has to be made by him. So he considered me to be his disciple, equivalent, even though I was just a student. So if I cook for him, he will eat.
Disciple is something like a son.
Like a son, exactly. And so if I cook for him, and actually I learned cooking in 7th
You'll
grade.
be interested to know that the concept is that Santana is of two types. Vidya Santana and Praja Santana. Praja Santana is the progeny which is generated out of this body.
Yeah.
Vidya Santana is the one who is inheriting your legacy.
Yeah, exactly.
So both are Santana.
Yeah, and you would hope that both of them will be, well, at least your Santana, biological Santana will be your Vidya
Inheritors
Santana.
of your legacy.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that so I have my little bit of my own theories about all this, and I felt very good about it. Actually, I so much so that right now I'm in JNU and my wife just joined me. I was there for a month, and there was a cafeteria right 2 minutes, just 2 minutes across, and they serve breakfast and lunch and dinner. They are very cheap and compared to what I had to spend in the United States. And but I do not feel comfortable, so I bought everything to make my own food. Even whatever I made because I feel so comfortable. And I have theory about that, but I want to go back to your thing about diet. I believe there are two mechanisms that might explain, in addition to the fact I said about biological system that will happen. You also mentioned about that it will affect the brain and the mind. It might affect if it is going to affect the mind, we have to find a way to connect it to the brain or the nerves. And in Ayurveda, the gastrointestinal system is considered the most important thing for diseases. So this is very, very important. In the gut, there is a we know there is a nervous system. It's called central nervous system or brain. We also have a second brain in our body, which is in the gut, which has its own independent operation because it doesn't have time to get the instructions from brain if there is a food that it needs to deal with. So I have a hypothesis, and my lab is working on this. I have a hypothesis to find out the interaction between food, digested food, and this enteric nervous system. So that's one possibility that it may be affecting the mood. There is a vagus nerve, which 90% time this vagus nerve sends signals from the gut to the brain. Only 10% time the signal comes from the brain to the gut.
Oh, I see.
So there is a neurotransmitter called serotonin. And this is important for your mood. Serotonin is important for your mood. So if 90% of serotonin is synthesized in the enteric nervous system, I call enteric nervous system or ENS. So that is our hypothesis that since it is affected that much by the food or it deals with the food, so we should try to find the molecular interaction between the food, digested version of the food, and this system. That will be one possibility, and to do research. And my group is already doing research. We have done some research already, and it's kind of difficult to establish the centric nervous system in cell culture, but we have. The second one, which has research has been done by other people, and I have read it, is that our body has a lot of microbes. Actually, our body has 10 trillion, approximately 10 trillion cells in our body, which is human cells, and there are 100 trillion microbes in our body. So we are actually more microbe.
We are outnumbered.
We are outnumbered. We are more. We are 90% microbe in terms of number of cells. Only 10% humans. But those microbes in our gut, they are the protector of us. They release. They interact. They also get the food, nutrition. But they produce all kind of chemicals in the process, which affects our body, including our mood. So many times, actually, the research paper have come that we are what our microbes are. So, and then now the interaction is the food you eat, spices you eat, or you don't eat the food, or you eat certain sequence of food. These microbes are going to be affected. And depending on, for example, people have gas. It's a gas, you don't form the gas. Gas is formed by these microbes. So when you have gas problem, because you eat certain types of food and certain types of microbes grow in certain ways, then you make more gas. So the similar thing, they basically make different kind of chemicals which could affect your nerves and your mood. So I mean, the second part is done. I don't think it is done on Indian lifestyle of having upavas or having Navratra.
We have two more things to add here. You said it requires it takes a balanced food to keep your body right.
That's what the current science thinks.
Yes. And you see, actually the Vedic principle says that Sapta Gramya Aushadhaja, Sapta Aranyaha. Gramya Aushadhaja means the grains that are grown in the villages or the dwellings of human dwellings, inhabitations. And Sapta Aranyaha. Aranya means those they are growing there in the forests. Mm-hmm. So all the 14 have to be consumed.
Yes. Okay.
In essence, today we are limited to just wheat and paddy.
That's right, exactly.
And we have a unbalanced. And the pulses are also, they should be consumed, but in a limited way.
Yeah.
And the second important aspect is that the food preparation process and the person who is preparing the food and his moods and his discipline is a factor in the preparation of the food. That's what they say.
I know, I agree. I think even I heard a Rahim's Doha, Rahiman Rahilas, he bhali jo parsat man lai. Even if Rahila means chana, even if somebody gives you chana, but depends on how that person likes to give and do, that has an effect, otherwise it's like a poison. The second line.
So the food preparation is one part and the consumption is your part. How the mind should be, what is the ideal state of mind when you consume food? Because be comfortable, eat silently. This is
all those things are written and of course they are not followed these days.
Yes, you are right.
Most of the discussions happen on the dinner table. So
and three more things. They said annam nanindiyat. Don't abuse. Annam na parichakshita. Don't try to poke holes into the food processing and this is not tasty, something like this. The third one, annam bahukurvida. Don't think that you don't have sufficient food. The feel of having insufficient food itself is a detrimental to your food consumption. So these three are important factors that are.
Which I think it is from what I can understand, and I think there is plenty of evidence of this kind of thing. How you think that different kind of chemicals are released.
Okay.
And those chemicals will have an effect on you. So whether it's related to food, especially if you are eating food and it's related to your nutrition, that will affect. But even otherwise, if you meet somebody and if you are not in a good mood, that obviously is going to create stress. One of the very important thing for young people is that people watch games. They watch cricket, they watch football, whatever, hockey. It is not actually, this is my opinion, because related to this, how you think, it is not good for their health to sit down on sofa and watch games, because your chemicals are secreting as if you were playing but you are not playing. So chemicals are secreted so that you do the physical work. So they will be, that way they will be metabolized. But if they are not being metabolized, they will cause stress. So the young people should play more rather than watch more. And they should, so consequently, the teams should be local. They should not be, I mean, I'm just talking only from health point of view. Obviously, I know that people watch international games. In the United States, just we have what they call as football, which is their football. And the game was between New England Patriots, which is where I live, and Washington Seahawks, which is near Seattle. And all my family was telling me what the score is because they were telling me from there, this is only one game I sit down and watch in the whole year, because it's such a celebrated game that I normally sit down with my kids and watch.
I think Patriots won.
Patriots won. 28 to 24. So the point is that you should not do this on a regular basis, because the chemicals will be released, and then they're not being metabolized. You're not doing what they are released for. So this is ultimately they're going to be detrimental. So the lifestyle must change. I think this is young people must change it. Not young and old all, they should change. They should not, if you are to watch something, you want to do it, not just watch it, because that would be, I think it will be detrimental, and people should study. Of course, a lot of people don't want to study because.
So how do you study these patterns of food habits?
You mean the food habits? We're not talking about the games, right?
Yeah,
food
right,
habits.
right.
Yeah, the food habits. There are so many ways to do that. I mean, one would normally do just a blood test as to what is your blood composition of different kind of nutrients when you have fasting.
Different types of foods.
Different types of foods.
And different types of food consumption. Different types of food preparations.
Exactly. I think it can be done, and it should be done. Like I said, I've experimented on my own, so that's very important.
So it's not an expensive.
No. I mean, it's like a regular research that people will do.
Only the blood test, if you have a small laboratory to support.
At least you would do the blood first, and for finding out. Maybe then you can look into the functioning of different organs in your body, because
so at some points to assess your mood. So do you think fMRI would help?
Absolutely, mood. I think fMRI could help. There are other tests also, which is like they take cerebral spinal fluid, which is the fluid that bathes the brain and the spinal cord, and it's regularly done by doctors. They take between the two vertebrae,
It's a bit painful, I think.
A little bit painful, but you can take the CSF when the research comes, and I mean, one would. Modern science, including my lab, does animal research, which is not. I would not advise it. I think it should be done on humans, so that it's done humanely. And also it will, I mean, there is a way to do all this, but we just find it easy to do the animals, so that's why we do the animals. But many of the animal research is not applicable anyway, but that because nobody wants to take the risk, so they do animal research. But yeah, I think it's not, even though a little bit painful to take the cerebral spinal fluid, but the functioning of the brain, like using EMG or ECG or EEG or fMRI, it should be able to get plenty of information.
Because it's not painful.
No, it's not painful. And then, you can also start doing the survey of the people, how they feel.
Yes.
So there are so many tests one can do, and so many ways to do the biology of it.
And I don't know whether it is relevant to mention this. During the conduct of yajna, the yajamana is supposed to observe fasting.
Yeah.
But you can't fast for all the 5 days or 20 days or 30 days, because you would faint on some day.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, Veda stipulates 3 or 4 types of this thing for upavasa. Payaha brahmanasya vratam. You have milk.
Mm-hmm.
And yavagu rajaniyasya. A kshatriya should have yavagu. Yavagu means it's a sort of you boil the rice with water.
Okay.
The water is
Oh yeah, pasawan. They call it nowadays. They call it pasawan. So you just take the water, whatever.
Yes, that's the yavagu.
That's the carbohydrate.
Yes, you are right. Starch. We can say starch, and of different grades.
Mm-hmm.
And amiksha is for vaishyasya.
Mm-hmm.
Amiksha means you ferment the milk, and once the milk is broken, there is a hard part and there is a liquid part and a solid part.
Mm-hmm.
So the solid part is called I think it's called paneer something.
Paneer, yeah.
Yes, that is called amiksha.
Mm-hmm.
So these are prescribed for during fasting also.
Yes, very interesting, because the reason I say is very interesting for two reasons. One is, of course, this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. So they have to be really Brahman Kshatriyas, not the ones who are there by birth.
Yes, you are right, you are right.
because that defines that.
As you call practicing scientists, something like practicing.
We have to be practicing,
yes.
not just by birth.
Yes, yeah.
Because your body composition and like mind is very important. So your mental setup has to be like that. And I think that's where the connection might be. Because the one who does Brat, it is a very different kind of mindset.
Brata is fast.
Yeah. No, Brata only means fast here, but when somebody does this Yajna, fast is just part of it.
Yes, you are right.
Have to do everything
because
else.
the fasting will always remind your body that you are under constant rule.
Yes.
You are bound by that regulation. It will always.
And I think normally when people do Yajna, and at least what I have seen, there you have to observe many other.
Yes, you are right.
You have to,
including this, there is something called this mudra.
Yeah.
Just like this. So after some time it pains like anything, but they will just keep it. So you are constantly mindful that you are under a vow.
Yeah.
Not to speak,
exactly.
not to abuse.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So that mindset is very important. And I think in that mindset, whatever you learn, it must become a certain way. I give you an example. When I was in high school, I had a rented room, didn't have water in this place. We had to take water next neighbor's place. Or I will have to go to a well. It was a school nearby. The way I did my bathing with only cold water, I used to chant mantras. Even I learned this very early on to say few mantras. Those mantras, even today, when I came back to here, in America you have showers, and my sequence of mantras is very different. But when I came back here, the moment I started taking the shower, those old mantras came. They started with that one automatically. So what I'm trying to say with this, that our mindset, because if you have the mindset and you learn certain things and that mindset, they reinforce each other. So these things are done for certain purpose, and that when it reinforces it, you do with a guru or whoever is doing this for you. It is very, very important. So I think mind is very important part of it. The brata, just not the food. Is that the fact that you decided not to take the food or not to do certain things or to do certain things, it goes along with, and your body then cooperates.
We can add in the study of these things, as you said, fasting with limited foods, limited types such as fruits and uncooked food.
Yeah.
And some yavagu and amiksha and milk, payaha, and probably broken wheat or broken grains, full grains, half-baked grains, fully baked grains.
People may not like this, but someday, if we can find out exactly what the effect of these are, then you can find out who is really Brahmin, who is really Kshatriya by doing this test.
And probably, if it really helps you sharpen your intellect and keep it more alert, on an important day, probably you might choose to this thing. On an important examination day.
But the important thing is these things have been said, and they could not be just saying out of
because they have the age-old observation of certain this thing, because how it manifested, and the genes also, because observation of these rules for years together, they will actually shape up your genes, and your progeny would also be affected by these things.
It's true. Initially, 10-15 years ago, people did not think that your thoughts could affect your progeny, but now it is very well established because of epigenetics, that your progeny will be affected by what kind of thoughts you have. But in today's world, when you have people like Nirmal Baba or somebody, have you heard about Nirmal Baba? No, he's a famous guy in Delhi, and there were some cases against him. Is that people go with their problem and says, okay, tomorrow in the morning you should eat 3 samosas, and then apparently it works. So there are people like that. The society knows that, but that's not what we are talking about here. We are talking about Vedic knowledge.
Yes, which is age-old observation.
Yeah.
So because when you have longer observation and you are very patient, and because you relish your old age, because you see the entire concept is built upon the optimism. Jok jivaha jaram ashimahi. Let us live long. They don't say that I should be youthful all the time. I should be matured and well grown up, and I should enjoy my old age forever. So because you don't have the lust or you don't have the cravings, and you are a mature person, and you will be a boon to the society.
Yeah, I think this kind of research, and if it has to be done systematically, as it in modern science or even ancient science. I believe the ancient people did science very deliberately, because you're saying that there were questions and answers, and
Yes, of course.
people go test it out, this and next do this, next do that. So I think the tradition will remain, except that modern scientists will understand this, and it will be translated in a language that people will understand.
Yes, you're right.
If that is done, I have a feeling that we might be learning some new science,
Yes.
and that's what excites me.
Yes.